want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. And even that statement, in a way, is sort of paradoxical, isn't it? How can we wish a happy day in remembrance of all the people who have sacrificed their lives for this country? I don't know if we can really, but we can acknowledge that people did sacrifice and people did struggle, people did die in the service. And I want to just take a moment to acknowledge what they went through. I've never been in the service, and I don't know a lot of people who are in the service. But I do want to say thank you because I know that you risk your lives in order to help us be free. I also know that a lot of times that eh, when you've been in the service, there are some really horrible things that you see, and we'll be acknowledging live people who have served in the military on Veterans Day. But in terms of Memorial Day, I think it's a good time to talk about grief and what it means to honor someone who is no longer with us, or even a whole group of people who are no longer with us. I think a lot of times we expect ourselves to get over grief really easily and to rejoin the masses and being productive, happy citizens of the United States or wherever we are. I don't know if that's all that realistic. And a lot of the people who come to see me are kind of mistaken about what they're supposed to do when they grieve. I want to tell you there's not really a perfect way to grieve. It's so individual and it's so up to what your needs are, what your attachment style is, and I'll explain that in a minute. But we all grieve differently. We all grieve in our own time and in our own ways. And some of the things that we don't want to do are to use alcohol or drugs to mask what we're feeling when we're grieving someone who's passed away or some lost aspect of our lives. Because the drinking and alcohol and the drug use doesn't do anything to really resolve the grief. All it does is it kind of suspends it until we're sober again and then we feel bad again. And we also risk getting hooked on drugs or alcohol, which then creates its own set of circumstances that can lead to more grief. So I recommend that if that is your coping style, that you find a better one. And I'm not trying to criticize you, I just think that that is not a really great way to deal with anything. Of course, there's having a drink or two once in a while, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're using it to escape your feelings or how you think about things or the uncomfortableness of grief, then I really recommend that you find a different way to cope. Also, sometimes people think that they're being strong or noble or brave if they put on a brave face. And what a brave face means is that they don't show any emotion, they don't let on that they're really struggling. Sometimes you have to do that, I'll be honest. If you are working, people probably don't want to see you crying all the time at work. Or if you're trying to take care of someone else, like a small child or even an older child, you don't want to be crying all the time to the point where you just crawl into bed and don't do anything. At the same time, I think we have the opposite expectation where all of your functioning and normal everyday activities resume as if nothing happened. But I look at grief as the price tag that we have for caring about someone and allowing someone to care about us. And we really should care about each other. I worry about a world where we just go on like nothing happened when someone close to us dies, or when we go through a divorce, or any life-changing event like that. I'm not saying that we have to let it suck us under like a strong tide. But at the same time, we need to acknowledge that there are some things in life that are very painful and sad, and we should allow ourselves to feel those things. What I meant by attachment style earlier is the different types of attachment that we have to caregivers when we're babies and young children. And sometimes those styles can influence how we grieve and how we cope with stress. So if we had a healthy, secure attachment, it makes it a lot easier to deal with painful emotions such as grief and anger and fear and sadness. If we had insecure attachments, it can make it really hard because we don't have necessarily the same coping mechanisms within us and the same ways that we handle strong emotions. In any event, I want to acknowledge all the people who have gone before us and who have died for our country, and to say thank you. You're not here to hear that, but I do appreciate your sacrifice, and I appreciate all the people who are still living, who are serving our country. And if you are struggling with grief over a veteran, over someone who is just in your life, um, over anyone, any kind of personal loss, you may want to get some help if you feel like you're stuck. My number is 661-233-6771, and I would be happy to talk to you if you're feeling like grief is taking over your life. But please try to remember that it's normal to feel sad, and it's normal to feel sad for a while if you lost someone who matters to you. And hopefully we all matter to each other, even people you've never met. And that's how I feel. And I just want to say Happy Memorial Day.